So this is the very first session of our contributor roadmap series for Docz. This session we'll try to keep it as light as possible, as beginner friendly as possible. So I'll be talking to you about what Docz is and why is it the best documentation software out there. And then we'll be doing a little run through in what do we call as Aviyel style. I'll be showing you about how to set up the Docz right from the beginning. I am doing it on Mac, and it is almost the same. The commands won't change over Windows. Few here and there, but then I'll be pointing those out. But then, yeah, hopefully you follow throughout the session. The chat is open. So if you think you need to take a break or I'm going a little fast than usual, please let me know. I'll start with a very formal introduction. I am Utkarsh. I am a developer evangelist at Aviyel. So a very quick introduction about Aviyel and what exactly are we doing at Aviyel. So Aviyel's on a mission to create a scalable monetization avenue for projects. And at the same time, we are aiming to do everything that we do while preserving that project's open source character. That is very important to us. We are trying to introduce the concepts of DAOs and tokenization to drive that project's incentivization. And to sum it all up, at its very core, we are helping open source projects scale and make them sustainable. Now, getting back to today's events, I'll be sharing my screen in a while. But then before that, let's start with as to why is Docz the best documentation software out there? So one of the things to note, and I won't waste anybody's time by telling actually what Docz is. I mean, obviously, while talking, I will when I share my screen. But then let's start with the very punch points that we need to know about Docz. So one of the first things that is Docz is Gatsby powered. So Docz entirely built on Gatsby.js, and it is optimized for lightning fast development, right? So the speed is actually very incredible compared to other dependencies that are there. And this also allows you to leverage Gatsby.js huge ecosystem of the plugin and the tools that it allows the users to use. And one of the second point is that Docz is easily customizable. So Docz is highly customizable to create and personalize your very own theme. So this might be a shocker, but then Docz, even when you just start the Docz server, it has light and dark theme already introduced in it. You don't even have to change anything, and you can customize the theme as you want and as you progress with your documentation. Third point is that Docz is actually blazing fast. So Docz supports hot reloading and automatic code splitting right out of the box, and it is based on MD. I mean, how Markdown was great, but then MDX. So Docz is based on MDX, which allows it to import and use your own component in Markdown style files. So, I mean, yeah, Markdown is a big go-go, and it has a support for TypeScript. So Docz includes native TypeScript support for TSX components, as well as ability to generate documentation directly from prop style and comments inside the code itself. It is totally supportive of TypeScript. So yeah, those are the first 5 points as to why it is the best documentation software ever. So I'll just repeat my points. It is Gatsby powered, highly customizable, blazing fast, based on Markdown, and it supports TypeScript. Other than that, I mean, let's dive into the session itself, and as and when we are talking and we are generating the files, right? Like setting up the server, it takes a few minutes. Then I'll be talking about what Docz is and how we can make them better. And we'll be also going through the documentation of official Docz together to make things easier. Cool. Let's start. I will start by sharing my screen. Hopefully I don't share the wrong one. Okay. So what we'll do is first we'll take the very normal approach of just opening the terminal, right? So let us open the terminal. And we'll clear this out. Just a second. Cool. So let's just suppose this is a very clean terminal. It is not, but then it is. And also, so what we are trying to do over here is we will first create a file from scratch and then open VS Code from it and then we will install the node packages that is required, and then we will dive into Docz. So let us start with the very basics as to creating, just a second, creating the whole thing. So let us make sure we are in the right thing. So we write cd desktop. We are in desktop. So ls. Okay, so there's a few documents over here. Okay, okay. Cool. So we are in the right doc. So what we'll do is we'll create a new folder known as Docz1, let's say. Cool. We have Docz1 with us now. So cd Docz1, making sure we are in the right directory. And if you have VS Code installed, you can directly open VS Code by writing code dash dot code space dot. Enter. That should open the VS Code file that we have for our Docz1. Hopefully my screen is visible. Joshua? Yeah, cool. So what I'll try to do over here is I'll try to move my taskbar if I can before anything else. Okay, it is not moving. Let it be. But my screen is clear, right? Everything is visible. Cool. So now what we'll do is, first of all, let's dive into the things and we will make the appropriate files which are needed. What we'll do is we will do Command J, that opens the terminal. It will be Control J for Windows. But before that, let us look if everybody is on track with us. Is everybody on track? We have 14 attendees, which is pretty good. So this is very basic stuff, and I did it in the core developer style. You don't have to do it through the whole process of going to the terminal and then making the document. The folder. You can directly make the folder. You can directly import into VS Code. UI is always there. You can easily use it and open the terminal. Cool. So once we get to the terminal, you check the version of the node that you have. So also what I would recommend is using exactly 16.8.0 and anything below 17.0.0. So there's a problem with the SSL server actually not connecting well with the nodes. And later, once we are setting up the server, there might be a problem where the server is actually not getting connected and your local host won't work. So what I would recommend is go and downgrade the version of your node if you have the latest one. That would definitely solve the problem. And how do you downgrade the version of node? So how do you downgrade the version of node? I will share that link too. Just a second. For Windows, it should be very easy. They can directly go to the control panel, remove the node version. But then if you're using Mac, it is a little different. I'll just share the code that I had. Just a few seconds. Yep, found the link. Here's the link to which shows exactly how to downgrade the version. And also anything below 16.8.0 wouldn't work. Docz doesn't support it. So I would recommend that you do install everything that is anything above 16.8.0 and anything below 17.0.0. I'll write it below 17.0.0 to 16.8.0. Cool, that works. Okay, cool. We are running a little slow. So what we'll do is we'll speed up the process. Cool. So what do we do now is we install the node packages, npm init y. Done. And then now the thing is, okay, as and when we are also doing this, I will also share the screen that is required. I will just open the official documentation of Docz. I'll pull it over here. Just a second. Okay, cool. So one of the things to note is that your React and React DOM version should be exactly above 16.8.0. Now, so once you install the Node version, it should actually solve the problems that you have, and it shouldn't be any problem. But then do let me know. For Windows, it is fairly very simple, but then for Mac, you have to follow the link that I have given you. It it is the code is actually pretty same for Windows too. But then yeah, cool. Once that is done, what we'll do is so I won't be following the traditional documentation where we follow each and every steps over here, but then I'll be showing you the way that I do it. But then yeah, it was pretty much the same. I will always be keeping this on the second screen as reference, and I'll be trying to pull it out whenever we have to make sure. So what we did was we created a package.json file once we installed the packages. So now what is the next step? Cool. Once we have created this, we have to create an index.js file, right? Actually, for the sake of it, we will create one, but then for the one thing that we are doing, we actually don't need an index.js file. We can work absolutely fine without it. And I'll explain as to why later on. But then for now, we'll create it to follow the simple process that is there so that everybody is on track. Cool. And I will be sharing the code in the comments. Don't worry. Cool. This is done. Also, like for it won't retain the correct format, obviously. So what I would suggest is download an extension which is known as Prettier. Yep. Yeah, this one. If my screen is visible, please download this. What it does is basically it is a code formatter. So even if you write codes here and there, you select the whole thing and you select Prettier, it makes the code come to the right places, and so you won't be having errors, right? The format is correct basically. So once we have done that, just a second, there's a lot of things open. Yep. So yeah, so the thing is, Docz. So now to even start with the whole thing, as to why are we actually running the, why are we even doing this? So basically, what we are doing is we are create now. See, for every project that you do, let's say it is based on React, uh, we have to create those documentations inside that very project, right? So that is why we are, so as of now what we are trying to do is we are just making as if we are making a project, but then our main focus will be towards the documentation. So for creating the documentation, you have to come up with an mdx file, that is mount on x. So what that does is that is the place where everything that is the code that you will be writing up for the documentation, all of it will go there, right? If that makes sense. Cool. I actually have already written the code because it takes a lot of time to even what do you say, to come up with the whole thing. So okay. Also, before we do anything else, we didn't install Docz itself. I mean, so before anything else, please install Docz. So it is npm I Docz. So now this might take time depending on the machine that you have. Yeah, so this is going to be a pretty slow process. Hopefully it doesn't take time. And the server, it takes a lot more time than this, but then hopefully we'll be 5 to 7 minute max. Cool. Till the time that is happening, I'm waiting for the guy. I'm waiting for everyone. Sorry, not guys, folks. I'm waiting for everybody. So if there is anything, do drop it as Joshua is dropping it. Yeah, cool. Okay, so I figured that I was dropping it in the wrong channel. Cool. Till the time that is done, I'll just run you through the documentation that is there, and I'll just tell you that whatever we are doing is not that different from the documentation part of it. Just a second. Yeah. Cool. So here, even in the official documentation, you can see what they have done is npm install Docz, right? That works too. It works absolutely fine. Also, this is something that they often tell you to. Uh, it is an option still, but then it is recommended that you do so. So whatever version of React that you're using, please update that over here. So this goes in package.json file, right? Yep. Also, you can spin up the server by yarn.doxy.dev or run C. So it is pretty simple where you just install Doxy and run the server. And the markdown file and the changes that you make, that is totally up to you. But then we'll be running you through it. But then as of now, we are just waiting for it to be installed. And once that is done, I'll be going on the next steps. Cool. I think that it should be done by now. Okay, it is still taking time. And what we'll do is we actually don't need this, right? Because there isn't any alert button that we're using as of now. What we'll do is in this session, we'll focus main on the documentation part of it rather than buttons and the properties. So what we do is we'll remove index.js. Sorry for the trouble. We can move it to trash. And what we'll do is we'll create and markdown file directly, which is known as um, index.mdx. And this will be the file that we will be importing, right? So what this does is this is the actual place where whole of your documentation is supposed to be there, the code. So here also do remember that it is supportive of TypeScript, JavaScript, and pure Markdown. So everything works. So you can customize the buttons and the components that you're using. There are different properties to it. But then for this session, as we have to keep it a little friendly, what we'll do is we will be keeping, to just pure Markdown and nothing more major, right? Just waiting for it to get installed. Okay, cool. Till the time that is being done, what we'll do is we'll go to package.json and we'll update our scripts. Okay, wait. Okay, cool. If we have even installed that, what we'll do is scripts. We go to the scripts and then we basically uh, replace the whole thing. Just a second. Yep, that should work. Cool. I will share the code with you guys too. This has to be updated under package.json. Package.json. Cool. Now that we have actually installed Docz, so half of the thing is actually finished. Now what all we have to do is we have to create an whatever documentation that you want to do, it has to be created under this file, right? So I already have a documentation which I had created before this. It was actually created by a technical writer at our place who works at Aviyel too. His name is Ramit. But then I'll be using that code directly to show you and come up. So it is pretty much same as the website that we already have, right? So it will look like a pure documentation. Index.mdx. So yeah, so just to walk you through it, so the name of the thing is Aviyel Live Coding and route. So what exactly is route? So whenever we type localhost uh, colon 3000 slash, so that is your route. Now if I, let's say if I change it to route test, right? So I'll have to write localhost under colon 3000 slash test to go to the actual, to the place where it will be displayed. Make sense? But then we'll just keep it a slash. So you can see this is pure markdown, right? Nothing major is going on over here. But then yeah, markdown. Here we are using a bit of components here and there. We are adding images basically, so that there's nothing more. But then yeah, pure markdown, right? So the thing is, you don't have to do all this. You can basically just come up with a hello world program, right? I will also be linking one of the blogs that have already been written. You can actually follow that part of it and you should be good to go. I will just share the link. Right. Uh, if you scroll to the last part, the whole code is there. It should be fairly easy. You just have to copy paste the code and you should be good to go. It is a fairly simple hello world program, right? So what I'm doing over here is we have our whole documentation ready as of now. It is just links and few styling over here and there and just adding images and nothing major, right? But then the thing is, I haven't added the images yet. So I have to create a new folder called images and add images under those. So what I'll do is I have the images already up and run saved. I just have to copy those, drag and drop, drag and drop. Cool, that solves half things. And now what is remaining? Now, as of now, so okay, we created the whole file, we changed package as JSON, we changed the scripts in it. This stays the same. We created the markdown file. We actually made changes to that. Reason document symbol ranges have been limited to JSON the max to configure. Okay. NPM. Cool, this worked. So what is next? That is done. Now all we have to do is run our server, right? So hopefully this works. npm run docz underscore serve. I will share the code with you guys too. Just a second. Here. I mean, this is the part which takes time depending on the machine that you have and the RAM and ROM and everything. We have a few questions too. Why do we need to document React components? Cool. Cool. I'll be taking the questions once we end the whole thing. Then yeah, time I'm doing this, let's make sure that everybody is on the same track. And hopefully my screen is visible, this place. Yep, this is the documentation. This is the place where it is happening. Cool. Okay, so I'll take the question now itself. So why do we need to document React components? It is not just about React components. It is just about anything that you make, right? Why is documentation necessary? It is as to because it is the only way you can convey message to others about your code, right? How does a person understand about your code? It is the way that documentation, that is how documentations work. So like let's say there are a lot of reusable components that React has. That is one of the things that React is known for. There is a lot of reusable components that are there, but then those reusable components, they are um, they are customizable, right? So somebody, if you make a component that is not understandable by somebody else, so it doesn't make the sense, right, to even share your code. So that is when documentation comes into place. And not just that, it also helps in making sure that your code is more discoverable, right? How does that work? So there will be a lot of component library once you create your own program, right? So yeah, so once you document all those things, it also makes it very much clear for the person to understand as to what are those components and what are the functions that are attached to it and what do you actually do. Yeah. And also for I can, for components, I can show you one of the best examples that is out there, which is known as just a second, where is the live event here? Wait, yeah. I'll just share the link over here, right? You can see, okay, I'm not able to reply. Report bugs, not able to reply. Cool, I'll do it in the main channel then. See, these are one of the best example of components and as to what components are, if you want to understand that. But then, yeah, so what I meant is, for it is basically documentation is there to drive your code's discovery and making sure it's comprehensible, not just by you, but then others who are viewing your code, if that makes sense and that answers your question. Cool. Do let me know if that answers your question. But then, yeah, so if my screen is still visible, the local host is set up, right? If everything is done fairly well and everything is done correctly, uh, and your node versions are correct, and you have run through the whole steps, then you should see that localhost 3000 is all set up now. So all we have to do is, what we'll do is we'll just copy this. Cool. So as you can see, so this is actually what we made. Now these pictures, how were they added? So these are basically the images that I imported, right? So you can see this is the first JPG. This is the GIF that we are using. This is the picture of MIT, and this is Discord of our Discord server. Joshua can share the Discord. Please do join the Discord. Hopefully most of the participants are coming from there itself, but then yeah. So yeah, we are actually done. So this was a very basic uh, documentation that we wanted to make. We used pure markdown over here. There's nothing much to it. Then yeah, and all of it is links. So but then yeah, this is what we wanted to show in the session. That was, we wanted to tell you about why is Docz great, what is Docz, and why is it great, and why is it one of the best examples out there. And then we wanted to run you through the whole setup of how to just get started with Docz, right? In the documentation, if you can see, it is just two lines of code that you have to write, either this or this, or either this and that. But then it is fairly not easy for beginners to understand as to what is going on. So that is what we did. So I can repeat the steps that we did. Basically, we created a file and we installed npm initY. That basically what it does is it installs the node packages. Once that is done, all you have to do is you have to set up your index.js file if you are using index and index. Okay, cool. So this is where we deleted the index.js file. Okay, cool. So the thing is, we didn't need an index.js file because there was no button mapped to it. So that is one of the reasons why we didn't even use it, right? If there were components like buttons or maybe other things that were attached that we were using in our documentation, then we would know, then obviously we would need the index.js file. So what we did instead of that is we directly created an index.mdx file, because all we wanted to focus on was on the documentation part of it. So that is what we did. And other than that, what else is there? Cool. So in index.mdx, we added the whole file that was there. In package.json, do remember that we changed the part of scripts over here, which is highlighted. So scripts, docz.dev, build and serve. Dev basically develops the documentation. Build builds the documentation, and serve, it basically serves the documentation. It is the last process, right? And that is why this has to be added. No brainer there. And other than that, yeah, cool. So even here, what I would suggest is, if you're just getting started, right, rather than using this code, all you can do is create an mdx file, name it as anything. I would suggest index.mdx works too. And all you have to do is copy this code, which is shown in the documentation, right? So I'll copy the link to the documentation that is there so that it is easy. But then, yeah, basically that. Nothing major from our side. Yeah, yeah. Also, this is to answer Rakesh's question, that the example that I was talking about is about this story block and what exactly are components. And also, if this is also a very good example of a very good documentation that is out there, right? As to why documentation is important, because we need to understand as to what story block is doing. Not just story block in this example. Let's just take Docz too, right? So as to, if Docz didn't make the documentation, we wouldn't know what their components stand for and what they meant for, right? And what are the things that has to be done to even get started with Docz and to install it on your local server, right? Cool. So that is one of the reasons why Docz is important. Documentation is important. Now, what else is there? We covered almost everything. Now I'm actually waiting for more questions to take from the audiences, if any. And till the time we are there, we can also try using just the hello world side of it. But then I'm pretty sure that wouldn't work, because we'll have to change a lot of things, because we have images added and everything. So, and we'll have to kill the server and we'll have to start the server. Also, yeah. Also, make sure once you've installed Docz, right, any changes that you make sure that you are deleting the Docz file, this file that is there, you're moving it to Thrash, installing Docz again, and then starting your server again. Otherwise, there will be a problem. Make sense? That is only if you face any issues, for sure. If you don't, then don't do it. I can show you an example of issues that were there before. If the terminal, hopefully I didn't kill the terminal in my previous one. Just a second. Hopefully I didn't. Okay, I did. We did kill the terminal. Otherwise, I would have shown the issues that are there. Also, do know that the current version of Docz, there might be a few issues as to not with Docz, but then the node version that you're using and the SSL server that you want to connect to. It is a known issue. It is even there on GitHub, right? So that is the reason why I even shared the Stack Overflow link as to how to downgrade the node version. That should totally solve the problems that you have. What I would say is keep it below 17.0.0 to 16.0. Anything between that, it works great. Please, is this session recorded? It is. Yes, it is. So almost after a week, this session goes live on YouTube as well as the events platform itself. On the same link itself, you'll find the session. It is recorded, don't worry. Code boss. But then, yeah, before getting started, just make sure your node version is correct. Keep it below 17.0.0 and you won't face any issues. And also, some troubleshooting guidelines is that if you're facing issues with the server side, first check the node version. Then, like let's say if you're facing some error, 800, 7000, something, it shows webpack. Make sure you delete the Docz file. Then install Docz again. Make the changes to whatever files that you want to make. Install Docz again, and then run the server to make it very much easier. But then, yeah, that is almost everything that we wanted to cover in this session. What I'll do is the code that we are using, right after this session is done, I will be updating. So what I'll do is I'll be updating that on the events platform itself rather than giving a GitHub link, right? So that everything stays in one place, right? So we'll do that. But then I've made sure that I've shared almost everything. I didn't share the last part of the MDX. That is only because this code is very much different than yours and you'll have to add images that are not there. So what I would suggest you is that you use a simple hello world doc, which is already there. This should run amazingly well. Exactly this. All you have to do is you have to copy this into the MDX file and make sure that there are hyphens over here, hyphens over there, and the route is /. If you change the route, you'll have to change it to route/test. And every time you change the route, you'll have to kill the server. You'll have to start the server again. So those are the little things and pointers to make sure. But then, yeah, again, for the folks who joined late, this was a very first starting session. This is not the last session, obviously. This is just a very warm introduction towards Docz and as to why it is one of the best documentation softwares out there. And that we covered. And then I can also sum up the things that we did again for the folks so all we did was we created a folder, we installed node packages, then we installed Docz, we created a markdown file where you have to just put the code, you have to run the server, and that's it. You have to go to localhost and then you can see the output there. Fairly very simple documentation. Inside the documentation, it is just 2 lines of code. For us, it is fairly the same, right? Because we were focusing a lot more on the explanation side. But then, yeah, just 2 lines of code and it should do it for you. And do know that it is based on Markdown. So it allows you to import and use your own components in Markdown style files. And also it supports TypeScript. So all the TSX components that are out there, it can fairly generate the documentation directly to those prop styles. And you can also, one of the great features is that it supports comments inside the code itself. So it is fairly easy for you to share the code with folks and who can understand what you're doing. But then, yeah, that should cover everything that we wanted to about Docz and as to why is it important, why is it one of the best softwares out there, and how to set up the initial Docz and just test it out. But then, yeah, I guess that covers it all. Cool. I will be waiting for a few minutes to take any questions from the audience's side, if any. Otherwise, we'll be closing in on the session. 2 minutes for anyone who wants to ask the question. And also stay tuned. This is obviously not the last session. And I know this session was done in a bit of a rush because obviously we cannot make sure that everybody stays on track just in 15 minutes and stays with us while we are live coding. But then this was just the start and initial, initial episode to even getting started with the contributor roadmap for Docz. So this was just a very warm introduction. We will be having full-fledged, episodes coming as to how we can leverage Docz in different use cases. So stay tuned for that. We already have started doing those for hopscotch, and the other projects that we have started with us, and we'll be also doing that for Docz very soon. But then, this was the very first episode for Docz contributor roadmap series, and just getting started with Docz and understanding what Docz is and why is it important. So yeah, that covers it all. And thanks again for tuning in, given it was night in IST, and wherever you're tuning in from, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for taking out the time and tuning into this session. I'll see you in the next one.